So we're at our first break. The morning's gone great. Sarepta did a fantastic job presenting the data, and it appears to me that there is definitely substantial evidence of efficacy. Christine McSherry did a great job with patient-reported outcomes that really compellingly showed the disease and how small gains are important for our community boys.
We heard stories about boys doing well on eteplirsen. They were small but meaningful things that they had never done prior to taking the drug, like opening bottles of water and bags of chips. Boys with Duchenne often struggle with these types of activities. In April 2013, we met with CDER to discuss the patient experiences that we heard about, and they asked us for video evidence. In June, we returned and presented videos of boys who were jumping into pools, walking their dog, and participating in sports. CDER officials asked us to quantify outcomes important to patients. So as requested, in July of 2015, we presented and submitted data on activities of daily living, or ADLs, to FDA. At this meeting, they indicated these results would be included in the review of the eteplirsen NDA.
Actually, much of the data that was presented by Sarepta over the course of the morning so far indeed supports that case with hard, solid data. It's an atypical data package, which they admitted, but the data in its consistency is supportive of the fact that now 4 to 5 years in on eteplirsen therapy, the 12 eteplirsen-treated boys are substantially deviating from the natural history of Duchenne. There were a couple of questions that were asked by the AdCom that we think could have been better dealt with. For instance, one was a question from Glenn Knuckles asking if the LTBP4 genotype, which could have been tested in the boys and in the controls, could have influenced why some of the boys are mild and some of the boys are severe.
So a question for Dr. Mandel regarding genotypes that modify disease progression, such as osteopontin and LTBP4. So you were author on a publication in 2013 that demonstrated that the major protective haplotype of LTBP4 is associated with prolonged ambulation up to 2 years, a level comparable to the effects of corticosteroid treatment. So what is known about the modifier genotypes of the treated and control groups, and how might that information aid in interpreting the data?
Well, Glenn, thanks for the question. I think what you have to appreciate is that back in 2010, when we designed this study, there were no modifiers, and so it was not part of the original protocol. And then when we, as the study evolved and we saw the results, and then compared it to the Italian group and the Louvain group, we had comparable number of patients, comparable age, and as Ed K showed, they were matched demographically in every way, and we appreciate that the modifiers would be equally distributed between the groups. There's 12 in our group, 13 in the comparable control group, and we felt that there would be the same statistical possibility for the modifying mutation to appear in both groups. So it has not been done, but it could easily be done at any point in time. It's unlikely to have an effect given that the groups are the same size, and in the Italian group there is no difference in terms of the 6-minute walk and so forth, as you saw.
There's very firm data that LTBP4 genotypes modify the disease phenotype, but a tiny little bit relative to the effect of steroids. So steroids are a very big effect. LTBP4 is a small effect and cannot possibly be accounting for the effect that's being observed by eteplirsen.
Which is significantly more than even the effect of steroids.
Absolutely. The next step is we're going to start to hear about from the FDA criticism of the data, and there'll be a number of those. It'll mostly reflect the small number of patients in the trial and the comparison to ad hoc or post hoc comparisons with control data. These are critical questions, and it's important for the FDA and the advisory committee to feel comfortable that those two data sets support the effect of eteplirsen. So we'll hear what those criticisms are, and Sarepta will be addressing those, as will some of the open public hearing comments coming up.
Importantly, Billy Dunn did leave open the possibility they were open to approval.
Absolutely.